Ntokozo Zikhali has been sentenced to life imprisonment for the rape and kidnapping of a 9-year-old girl from Benoni. Now, this comes just days after being acquitted of the rape and murder of 4-year-old Poho. Now, the time of Bogabo's disappearance, Zikhali was out on bail. For some reaction to these developments, I am joined by Bulelwa Adonis from Women for Change. Thank you so much, Bulelwa, for joining me this morning. It is quite sad to see something like this happen. Your take from all of this, let's just start with that first.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me, first of all. I appreciate this opportunity. I think we are thankful that he was sentenced. I think it's just very unfortunate. It's not something worth celebrating, knowing that Bogabo herself did not get the justice that she deserved. That unfortunately, he was implicated. It was great that he was implicated on behalf of the 9-year-old, but just days ago he was freed. He was off, and they said that he was not given, he did not have enough evidence for him to be prosecuted. And I think that just, it paints a perfect picture of our justice system, and this is why we have no trust in our justice system. So we're not too joyful, but we're thankful that he was prosecuted.
Yeah. And then, of course, I can't even imagine what her family must be going through, Bagoba's family. Let's talk about the psychological impacts on this, on the family, because they feel their daughter, they're not getting justice for what happened to their daughter.
I think it must be devastating. Thinking that your daughter was just playing in the park and the last thing you see is a man with her, and he confesses to kidnapping her, but she does not get the justice that she deserves. I think that the family must be devastated, and I think that the rest of us as a country are just as devastated, knowing that there are people just like Ntokozo roaming amongst us, free, off on bail, whatever the case may be. So I think that it disturbs a person psychologically. I think that situations like this, people like Ntokozo getting bail, being freed, telling us that he doesn't have enough evidence for him to be charged, it conditions us to be fearful. It conditions not just the family, but I think as a society, as a country, we're being conditioned to assume the worst, to assume that we are amongst predators. And I think it's not healthy. We are fearful. It's scary. And I think that the family must be distraught, knowing that they lost their daughter in the most gruesome way, and she hasn't received justice. So I think that they must be heartbroken and distraught and angry, and they have every right to feel all these feelings.
Yeah. And, just to bring in some stats here, it was shocking to me to actually realize this, that about 555 serious crimes were committed by parolees in the first quarter of 2022-23. And there were also more than 1,000 crimes perpetrated by reoffenders between March 2020 and March 31st of this year. It is quite astonishing, to see these things happening when people who are out on parole, criminals who are out on parole, they recommit these offences. What, in your opinion, needs to be done in order to stop this from happening?
I think it shows us that there's not much work in terms of rehabilitating these people. I think that something as simple as accountability is something that's not taken seriously in this country. I think it's just a word that no longer has meaning, a word that no longer has weight in this country. And I think the statistic that you just shared with us proves that there's not much education on what gender-based violence is, on the types of violence that there is. And I think that's why it's so easy to to be an offender and to repeat your actions, because no accountability is taken. That we live in a country that has become almost a safe haven for predators to walk amongst us. So I'm not too surprised, I'm not too shocked by such statistics. I'm not even shocked by the fact that these statistics are only rising. And I think that we need to start educating not just the offenders themselves and rehabilitating them, but I think that as a country we need to start understanding why it's so important to put things such as gender-based violence and information in our schooling systems, so that we can have such conversations like what we're having today, because people are not knowledgeable about how they can offend a person, what is legal, what is illegal. Because now we have normalized victim blame, we've normalized believing the perpetrators and befriending perpetrators, forgetting that. And then we wonder to ourselves why such statistics exist, But I think that by simply taking a stand on the rehabilitation process, I think that we're not taking that part seriously. I think we're not taking the education part of gender-based violence seriously. And simply accountability. I think our justice system has almost given these people a levy, or I guess allowing them to proceed with their actions, not making them feel like what they're doing wrong is wrong, if that makes sense.
I think you work with GBV cases a lot, and I find it very sad that we are still talking about GBV after how many years now that this has been plaguing South Africa. Again, we hear the president, talking about GBV whenever he gets the opportunity. As of late, after a pause on highlighting the fact that GBV is a problem in the country, it seems like politicians just use GBV at certain points to just to gain support in some way. So when something happens, then all of a sudden we talk about GBV, but it doesn't seem like it is a priority as such throughout the year, every single day. It just begs the question, when will this end, in this country? Like you said, it is something that society also doesn't, necessarily deem serious. So, someone like you that works with these things on a daily basis, when will we see an end to this?
I think that the only way we will get closer to the end of this is when we stop marginalizing a pandemic that was here before COVID. This is something that has been happening for decades. It's some abuse, violence, exploiting and hurting and harming women and children. It's been a thing. It's been present here, and I think that it saddens me that we have something like 16 days of activism. We've subjected a 365-day pandemic to 16 days. Like you said, where our leaders only use certain limelight to speak of such a dire pandemic. And I'm calling it a pandemic because it is just that. Because if you look on our social media page, we post every single day. There's always a death, there's always a murder, there's always something, there's always lives lost. And it's saddening to see that the media will only show the most gruesome story, the most horrific story, that as if I don't even want to call it the simple rape case, the simple murder is not being published or spoken about. And that's so appalling. I think that this will only end when we stop feeling uncomfortable with this. That I think people assume that we're comfortable with talking about this, we're comfortable in the business that we do, but it's not a joyous thing to go around and post the deaths of people. It's not a joyous thing to get in our DMs about people who are missing, who are murdered, all of these different things. I think by seeing this for what it is, a pandemic, and stop brushing what a perpetrator actually is, I think that we've downplayed accountability, we've downplayed right from wrong. And I think that now we need to stop taking things lightly, things like catcalling. We need to stop remaining friends with people who are accused of things. We need to start educating each other, having conversations. And I think that once our leaders take this seriously and stop saying things like, be happy that you were raped by one person and not 19, and things like that, and actually showing up consistently for all the victims, and not, I guess, isolating certain stories, because every single life matters. You can't see it now because I'm obviously sitting down, but I'm wearing a jumpsuit filled with all the names of the women that we've lost. From the beginning of Women for Change, I've written all the names, and I feel like I'm standing on their behalf because they're no longer with us. And I think once we realize that the importance of a life, maybe we'll get closer to the end.
Very powerful. Thank you so much, Bulelwa, for that. And of course, the problem also then comes in when we, as a society, starts getting numb to hearing all these stories and to witnessing all these crimes. But thank you so much for your time this morning. Really appreciate it. That was Bulelwa Adonis from Women for Change. Just, highlighting again, the fact that GBV is a very serious issue in this country, but also we were talking about Ntokozo Zikhali, who has been sentenced to life imprisonment for the rape and kidnapping of a 9-year-old girl from Benoni. But of course, this comes just days after being acquitted of the rape and murder of 4-year-old Bogabo Poho, whose family, of course, wants justice for her death and rape as well.